Hello, beautiful people.
Peace prevails throughout the
What I did
land,
there, I
and
timed it to
all
the song.
things are made new.
What's up? How are y'all doing today? Is this actually real? No. No, it's not. You should know better than to trust my titles. Only one day? True. Only one day for the drip marketing. Alright. You know what time it is, chat? I hate this, but let's go do it. How are you doing? I'm alright. I woke up at like 4 a.m. and then I fell back asleep. So I actually got a decent amount of sleep, but it was fractured, so it doesn't count, you know? It doesn't really count. Which one of these books do I even fucking want, man? I honestly, I don't know. We don't know what books Arlecchino's gonna want yet, right? So there's literally, I'm fucking shooting in the dark here. Will it be equity, justice, or order? Keep in mind, there's 3 characters for each type of book right now, so it's like, we can't, I guess. I'm gonna go for order. I'm gonna gamble. I will win. Alright, what do we play? Maybe... What do I want to play today? Toes? I guess. Well, if there were bosses, they could be more interesting, depending on what kind of bosses they are, and depending on how tanky the bosses are. And depending on whether the bosses have time to do their special attack before they die, which generally isn't the fucking case with a lot of bosses. But it could be, yeah. It definitely could be more fun. Alright, chat, let's do... I feel like it's been a while since I just played my beloved.
Just sharpen my spear.
But I got a gear. Sorry, chat. Gonna need to gear for a little bit. I think... No! My custom... Ah, shit. Instructor... That's by ER. Alright, this, we're gonna go Sock, and we're gonna go for VV. Sword by Elemental Mastery. Gonna do this. This. Où est ton papa? Dis-moi où est ton papa? Sans même devoir lui parler, c'est ce qui ne va pas. Ah, sacré papa. Dis-moi où es-tu caché? Ça doit faire au moins une fois compter mes doigts. Hey. Yeah, that should be good. Alright, gearing is done. The problem is, these guys are so squishy, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get my burst back. I'm definitely not gonna be able to get my burst back.
No, my sword.
Fuck. Okay, maybe this team is not a good idea for this domain. They're just too squishy. Man. Man. Should I play Ayato? I'll play Ayato. Fine. Fine. I will play Ayato. What Ayato team do I play? Hyper Bloom? TF? Or what about Wet Rock?
Well, this ought to be entertaining.
All right. Dis-moi ton papa, sans même devoir lui parler, c'est ce qui ne va pas. Ah sacré papa, dis-moi où es-tu caché, ça doit faire au moins 1000 fois qu'on j'ai compté mes doigts. Hey. Do you think there's a reason to save Acquaint Fates? Yes and no. There could in the future be a banner where Acquaint Fates matter, like a new banner, and you'll be able to get the newer.
Witness the power of the wild. Rain out.
The newer 4 stars if you save your Acquaint Fates, rather than only the new, rather than only the ones that are out right now. I am not on the right weapon. This ain't it. Soon, yeah.
Stabilize. First forward.
Let me lead you a place. No, my sword.
Kamisato. Suiyu. Cascade. Gather.
Wow. Oh boy. Can I get a people coffee? If you call chat stinky, you get a good piece. I don't want to call chat stinky. Just because they're stinky doesn't mean I should call them stinky, you know? Not everything needs to be said. It's kind of mean. No, you're stinky? Okay. We do a bit of Abyss. What do I play though? I need inspiration. I don't want to just play Hyper Bloom again. Monodendro. Wow, what a great idea. One character from each region. Wait, that's actually a good idea. I'm only allowed to play international teams. That's actually kind of a good idea. Wait. Okay, okay. So... Hmm. But I can't play international. Hmm. The first mean girl in Genshin? Wait, what do you mean? Ain't no way. Many have expressed displeasure both publicly and privately about my personality and have complained that my words can be hurtful. But if you ask me, all those showy pleasantries, greetings, and compliment are far more of a waste of everyone's time. As if simply stating the facts seem hurtful, then perhaps they are too insecure. I'm gonna be honest though. This is like terrible vibes. Anyone who says I'm just I'm not a I'm not mean, I'm just honest. You know? That's like a massive red flag. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with having characters that are flawed. You know? But that's very much what this is, a flaw. Hmm. I need like either Sumeru or Inazuma with this, right? Could do Ayato. Kinda down. Ogami don't have her. And then for this, I need either Mondstadt or Leah. You do official. Meh. I don't care enough about playing the Villette. This way, I do either Fontaine or Mondstadt. I guess official, yeah. So official Hyperloom and Ayato Monohydro. Okay. Yeah, I'll keep him on Aquila. Too lazy to change his build, even if that's not the right build for this team. That's not bad. Definitely gonna for this. Okay. Jean gets the 5. Okay. Arena. I think right now she's on the ER build, right? Yeah. Okay, we're fine. I don't think I want her on the ER build though. I'll keep all the funny ER stuff on the other artifacts, but I'll at least go HP Sands. Because we're triple hydro. There's no way I'm going 270 ER in triple hydro, you know? Like that's cringe as fuck. Yelan, honestly kind of similar. I'll go Stringless. Oh shit. Oh no, wait. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, who am I missing? Nahida. Make sure she's on the right build. True. Official. I'll put on Elegy. It was good enough, honestly. Actually, this is probably attack, right? Yeah. Kinda rather have EM for this. That's the wrong artifact set. I can't be bothered. Whatever. Attack is fine. I think that's everyone. Alright. We're done with our gearing! No. Yeah, I'll do this team on the first... Well... No, I have to do it on the second side. Because this team doesn't have... Actually, no, I have a bull user on both. Yeah, okay, let's do this team first side. Leakers today versus before. Leakers before? Ah, yes. Here are the leaks for 8 versions ahead. Let's release them at a good pace to create hype. Leakers now, Arlecchino, subject to changes, characters subject to changes that might be playable, questionable. I'm gonna be honest, this is straight up just wrong. Like, factually, leaks are so much better now than they used to be. Like, unironically, you can only actually think this if you weren't actually part of the community before. Because, yeah, a bunch of people leaked things far in the future, and most of it was just people making shit up for clout. Bro, we did not know if Kokomi's E scaled with HP or attack basically until a few days before her release. Because leakers were shit, man. Okay, and like, you know, no flame to the leakers, right? They didn't have the same infrastructure they do now. Like, but unironically, if you think that, like, this is the same vibes as fucking, like, traditionalist, ooh, architecture before, architecture now, grr. No, bro, just shut up. Just shut up, man, you don't know what you're talking about. Alright.
Mind the deluge.
Yoo-hoo! My name echo in song! Huh! I swear by my sword! Here comes the catch!
Escape. Kamisato Ari. Suiyu.
Strike a pose! Time to shine! Things are about to get dicey. Busted! Wait, hear me! Go as one!
Alright. Alright. They don't make music today like they used to. Yeah, it's the exact same vibes.
Illusion shattered! Witness the power! By royal decree! Minute to memory! Rain outlines her fate.
Something's wrong. Wait, no, it's not. I'm just blind.
The Temple of Wisdom! Shadow Raven! There is no minute to memory!
Please get lucky. Begging.
I summon!
Yeah, it's fine.
Illusion shattered!
Oh, what the fuck was... Okay.
Your journey ends.
Okay, good enough.
Where do you think you are going? Stop and let the world collide! Here comes the catch.
Pound it to the ground.
I swear by my sword!
Still.
Oops. Oops. Damn, if only I had Sing So on the team instead of Yolande. God damn it.
Gotcha!
It's okay.
Coming was foretold.
Mind the deluge.
It's okay.
Where the eternal oasis.
The show's only just begun. Runs over. Barbados, guide us.
Oh, my E missed.
Not done yet.
Alright, good enough.
Quietly now.
Good enough.
Witness the power of Kawa. Know my soul. Rain out. Oz, reveal thyself. This may hurt a little. Midnight, bitch. Grow. There is no Ring cutter. Know my sword. This may hurt a little. By royal.
That was not played very well,
Shine down.
but it's okay.
I see everything. Shadow Raven. Witness outlines your face. Huh?
No rest for the wicked.
Commit to memory. Oz, reveal thyself.
Okay. It is fine. Forbidden Raiden Burst? Yeah, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get it with this thing so official, so I used Raiden Burst to guarantee it.
Busted.
The depth back.
My name, echoing song.
Oh no.
Things are about to get dicey. Quietly now. Wait, hear me.
What? How did he get all the way over there? Did he like Diagro or something? Like, what the fuck is that all about?
Kamisato up. Suiyu.
The fuck is he doing?
The world collide. Here comes the catch. Gotcha. Going flat. I swear by my sword.
Cascade.
What is he doing? Anyways.
By royal rain cutter. Rain outlines your fate.
My sock sword.
Midnight Phantasm.
There is no. Witness the power. Rain outlines your. This may hurt a little. Committed to memory. This may hurt a little.
A liege. Chat, you guys want to know something funny? I think that, and this is gonna sound really dumb, but playing Wuthering Waves has made me significantly better at playing Nahida Hyperbloom. Hear me out, okay? So, there's like one thing that you can do with Nahida Hyperbloom that is like actually like a trick that actually like somewhat significantly increases the team's output. And it's whenever you're gonna swap out of Nahida, you just input a charge attack. Right? And I used to not do that before, because I'm kind of lazy. But because in Wuthering Waves, the whole combat revolves around animation cancels like this, I kind of got into the habit of doing it, and now I just do it on Nahida as well. So unironically, like Wuthering Waves has made me better at the easiest team in the game. Aware. And worse at basically every other team. Oh well. Oh well. The day you see me animation cancel, starter step trick shot in Genshin is the day I uninstall. Why? Not allowed to have fun in Genshin? Genshin killer, more like Genshin training arc? No. Because unironically, that doesn't make up for how easier it is to dodge attacks in Wuthering Waves. And, right, like, I realize that some of you here weren't here yesterday when I talked about it. Overall, it's harder to keep dodging in Wuthering Waves, but because there's more dangerous attacks and you have to dodge all of them. but the dodge gives you a lot more iframes than it does in Genshin. So dodging one specific attack is a lot easier in Withering Waves than it is in Genshin. And when I go back to Genshin after Withering Waves, I always dash too early. Man. Stop spamming dodge. Spam Jeepers instead. Or Toyota Corolla. Is Wuwa beta close? No, I don't think it's gonna close for another like 2-3 weeks probably. The event says that it's here until the 31st. Speaking of which, because I haven't played Wuwa on stream since the event came out, man, I was really let down by the event. Right, they had their first event, and it's an overdashing event, which is basically a parkour event. And I was really excited for it because there is parkour in the exploration. Like there's a place in the city where like you can join the overdashing club or whatever. There's like an overdashing master or whatever, and he gives you parkour challenges. And it's actually like straight up parkour. Like it's basically like Mondstadt, but the floor is lava, right? And you have to get from one point to the other, right? And it ramps up in difficulty where at the beginning you have like in Sumeru, the things where you can press T to like dash to it, right? You have a grapple target, but then on the last level you don't, and it's just like you have to make it without any of the help, right? And it's like actually really good. Like it straight up feels like, yeah, these people in game, or these in-game characters, these NPCs, I can believe that they would do this in their free time, right? I can believe that they're parkour bros chilling in the city and doing this. And then the event was basically just the exact same thing as Genshin's parkour events. And it was so disappointing. Yeah, what a bummer indeed. Have you tried DCing Withering Waves? A little bit. The main thing is I don't think I'm going to play the official release of Withering Waves unless they fix some of the big issues. And I don't know if they'll want to fix some of the big issues. So it's hard for me to be motivated to TC. But I've looked into it at least. Do you prefer Withering Waves combat over Genshin? No. I can understand why some people would, though. It has different strengths. Or, like, it doesn't have any of the, like... A lot of the Genshin combat is designed in a way to make it so that while it still does have some depth, you can basically just look at the color of the character, right? You look at their element, and you can kinda, and like, you know what, you know, they're off-field or on-field, whatever, and you can kind of, if you have a little bit of knowledge about Genshin, inherently know, without even seeing their kit, some pretty likely good teammates they're gonna have, right? Like, a lot of it is very... I don't really know how to explain it properly, but it's... There's a very, very noticeable attempt at having the complexity be secondary, where a surface level understanding can still get you to a certain pretty high level point of kind of getting it, right? Yeah, it focuses a lot on being intuitive, right? And I like that a lot because it's very difficult. To me, I view it as the same thing as a good teacher, right? A good teacher has to figure out the best way to approach the subject matter in a way that is going to make it as intuitive as possible for their students. And because I fucking love teaching, I really appreciate Genshin's combat for giving me kind of a similar experience, right? It really feels like the game is a teacher trying to get me to get it. And I like that a lot. Wuthering Waves doesn't attempt to do that. It doesn't attempt to be intuitive, right? What it does attempt to do is have complexity and skill expression in ways that someone who is willing to put the time to learn things will be able to consistently get better and better, right? And I think it is actually pretty good at that. I think there's enough nuance to the combat and enough mechanical skill expression. So for people that are looking for that experience, right, it's going to be a better combat system than Genshin. But personally, I'm not. That's not the experience I'm looking for playing video games. So I don't personally like it as much as Genshin's. Right? But just because I don't like it as much as Genshin doesn't mean it's worse. It's just attempting to do different things. Star Hunter, there's no graphic settings that will significantly improve your performance without making the game look worse, unfortunately. It's just how much worse does it look. And the graphic setting that has the biggest impact on performance is render resolution. So mess around with your render resolution, figure out how high you can go without it affecting your performance, and stick to that. Perhaps the idea is they don't want to hold your hand and want you to figure out things on your own, but Genshin doesn't hold your hand either, right? Like, the tutorials fucking suck in Genshin. If anything, I think the tutorials are better in Wuthering Waves, and they actually do hold your hand a bit more, because hand-holding is more necessary for what their combat has. But yeah, overall, right? Because I know basically all of you guys play Genshin or have played Genshin, right? Compared to Genshin's combat, it's more fast-paced. It's more interactive with the enemies. It's more skill expressive. But it also feels a lot less cohesive. Characters are good with one another just because they're good characters, or because they very specifically deal heavy attack damage and buff heavy attack damage, right? Any sort of team cohesion is either just because the characters are strong or because they are explicitly meant to be good together. So you're not gonna feel smart for making a good team. You're not gonna feel like it's a unique team. It's just basically just gonna be the team they want you to play, right? Reminds me of Honkai Impact Third. It might. Like, I think that most of my criticisms of Wuthering Waves are that effectively boil down to it's a great game that's going to be significantly held back by the fact that it's gacha. Not only will the fact that it's gacha mean that it's gacha, but it's also going to impact their decision making and prevent them from improving their systems in ways that are meaningful for players. Because the money incentive in gacha games is a lot more insidious than in other business models, and can be in direct opposition to player satisfaction. Is that supposed to be this lantern that's... What the fuck is this shadow, by the way? Like, is there supposed to be a light, like, over me here? I feel like there is, and they just forgot to put it. Or is it supposed to be the sun? See, I played with, like, the fucking low-resolution shadows for the longest time, so I never noticed this before. But this is... Right? So the light source is apparently coming from here, but if I move here, it's coming from here. So it's like, it has to be, like, straight up from here, right? But it's okay. Shadow TC, true. What is this emote? Let's take a look. SMH. I like it.
Every journey has its final day. Don't rush.
I like it. What's this? Is it just 1,000 Mora? Oh, 1,000 Mora. Recently, whenever I've had a spare moment, I've been observing and studying Chef Mao's way of cooking. Mao? Mao Xiangling? Displaying her mastery of pyro and pole arms. Wait, displaying her mastery over both fire and pole arms, Xiangling sends a pyronado whirling around her. Okay, whatever. Cool.
Where do you want to go next? If you'd like to see Liyue's toy.
Have you ever noticed the two flower thingies in front of Catherine are not properly aligned? I don't think I had. Why did you ruin this for me? No! I need to... You're a bad person. You're a terrible guy. All right, chat. What do we play? Yol Virgin. See, I always wonder, do people who want me to play Yoimiya, like, are you guys Yoimiya players? Or Yoimiya haters? Cause like, if you're Yoimiya players, you know what's gonna happen when I play Yoimiya, right? I'm gonna start playing, it's gonna feel like shit, and I'm gonna flame Yoimiya. You just wanna see Yoimiya? You can play Yoimiya Hyperbloom if you want? Bet.
Are you going to hold a festival?
Bet.
Illusion shattered. Commit to memory. Share my knowledge. Let me weave you a verse. Know my soul. This may turn. Grow. Time for a light show.
She missed. Okay, wait, I think we could... that could be good. I think we should do something funny, chat.
This may turn a little. Make yourselves at home. There is no escape.
Bro, can I...
Witness the power of the wild. Know my sword. Committed to memory. This may turn a little. The temple of
Bro, okay, I don't know what's going on here, but...
shine down.
My buttons are not working properly. I'm gonna do it again. I don't think my buttons are not working properly. I think I'm just dumb, but like, something felt so off about this clear, and it wasn't even Yoimiya's fault this time. Eh.
There is no escape. Grow. Share my knowledge. Let me read you a verse. Rain out. This may turn a little.
So clear time here was 41 seconds. Oh wait, I'm orange. This isn't gonna be a good comparison because I can't change the build now. If I do this, it's gonna start the timer, and if I do this, I'm gonna start from further away. Fuck. Oh, okay. I guess that means I have to do 2 clears with the vape build. We can't see the clear time, my bad. Oh yeah, I don't have a... Man, maybe I should get a Shimenawa's circlet. Oh well. What team should we do? Maybe like this?
It's time to pull the trigger.
I don't know, man. I don't love this. It is what it is. Ah, fuck, I don't have that. That's fine. Oh, she doesn't have... That's fine.
Witness the power. Go wild. Rain outlines your fate.
Things are about to get dicey.
Okay, so this one isn't gonna count, but the next one will.
Ring cutter. No, my sword.
Here comes the catch.
Fuse is lit.
Wow. Alright. We need to beat 41 seconds.
Let me lead you a verse. Rain outlines your fate.
Things are about to get dicey.
Fire hazard.
Solidified.
Yes. Witness the power.
Busted.
We're gonna cheat a little bit.
Fun zone.
Yeah, it's fine. This is not actually a sustainable rotation, but it's fine. Great! I think we beat it. We didn't. Fuck. Wow. Well. That settles it. Yamia's best team is Hyperloom. True! No, it's not, but... I actually kind of did expect this team to do a little bit faster. I guess it's not a favorable chamber, right? It's AoE, it's... cringe. The enemies move into you and, like, prevent you from actually hitting the big guy properly. Oh well. Check redeem. Nile. Sure. Alright. Okay, business. L plus don't care plus curse of denial. True. One day, all of that copy pasta is just gonna be emotes. One day. Hmm. Refresh chat.
We've got nothing else to do. Why don't I tell you a story?
It has been done. It has been done! Sorry, that was a bit loud. Hmm. Chat, when are we supposed to know what Chiori's banner is gonna be? Is it tomorrow with the drip marketing? Or do we already know? It's tomorrow? What are you guys expecting on Chiori's banner? Goro? Yeah, Goro makes sense. Goro Yunjin? I feel like that's too bad. I feel like they want to get the good 5 stars out of the way now on a shit banner. They don't have to put him on the Kazuha Nevilet banner, you know? Really do a Lila banner? Could be Lila. Could be Mika, but I don't think Mika would be on a banner by himself like that. Karara? Could be Karara. Yeah. Oh, chat, you know what the worst thing they could do is? I'm gonna manifest it if I say it, but I don't care. They're gonna put Cheveleurs on her banner, and then they're gonna make Arlecchino and Clarine both want Cheveleurs, but they're not gonna put Cheveleurs on either of their banners. And they'll make sure that we get leaks that Clarine is an overload unit. And, you know, Arlecchino's kid is gonna be overload. Did you see Dune 2? No, I didn't even see Dune 1. I'll watch it eventually, probably. I don't know. Right now I'm rewatching Korra. Yeah, I know. How's that going? I'm not at Zahir yet, so right now, not great. I'm at the worst part right now. So it's hard for me to push through, and I just keep procrastinating. What show have you rewatched the most? I wonder. It might be House MD. I've rewatched House MD a lot of times.
Little precious pets. They're very cute.
Korra isn't even that bad. Oh yeah, no, it's not that bad. It's just, well, okay. The Unalaq stuff is that bad, but overall, it's not that bad. That's fair, but I don't know, man. I just wish. I refuse to believe Korra is canon. No way Toph would be a cop. I think the way I view it is, nah, you're right. Toph being a cop is fucking dumb, honestly. But it's only in flashback, so I don't care that much, you know?
Forever.
No, but I... True. There's just so many things. Like, already, right? I got through the Amon stuff, and there's already so much that's just terrible, right? Like, they had such an interesting conflict going, right?
If we've got nothing else
With
to do,
the
I'll tell you a story.
political tensions between benders and non-benders. And how when you have a group of people that are just literally physically unable to do the magic that some other people can be, it's inherently going to lead to some separation of those people across different classes, where the people that have the magic are going to tend to be a lot more wealthy than the people that don't, right? And looking at the political implications of all of that is really interesting. And then they resolve the tension by, oh no, hey guys, hey non-benders that are currently trying to, you know, get more rights. Did you know that your leader was actually a bender in disguise? Haha. All right. Well, I guess we fixed the problem now. It's no. The movement, like the what created the equalist movement in the first place like what created those political issues in the first place is the fact that some people have the magic and some people fucking don't, you know? And you had a really interesting angle with, yeah, the people that don't have magics, they make machines and shit. Right? But like Korra just doesn't approach it doesn't really tackle how, like, Amon as a threat is eliminated, and then the equalist movement just magically just disappears, right? Like, it wouldn't. It shouldn't. They still have less fucking rights, you know? They're still getting oppressed. They're still arrested for nothing. Like, bro, you didn't fix any of the problems. They wouldn't just fucking, oh yeah, no, oh, he's a bender? Well, I guess our shitty lives weren't actually shitty. We just got, he lied to us. No! 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 That doesn't work! Our leader was shitty, must mean our cause was shitty too, I'm going home. Yeah, basically. It's... yeah. It's just, ugh. And then, fucking, they take... Amon takes Cora's bending away, and she gets it back like 10 minutes later. Like, what do you mean, bro? Couldn't you have at least waited until the next season? Why? They didn't know if there was gonna be a next season? Okay, but like... why does it have to be an all is well that ends well? Even if it was just one season, it would be better if Cora didn't get her bending back. Like, even as a standalone story, it's a shit way to end it, you know? Anyways, it is what it is, you know? On another note, they did lightning bending dirty by giving it to every novice level dude. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think, like, that's a fair way to look at it. The way I see it is, the reason why lightning bending was so elite in the first place is because they didn't teach it to anyone. They would only teach it to each other. Because they didn't want to lose power. They don't want their citizens to be all that strong enough to beat the government, basically, right? Lightning bending wasn't rare because only the very best of firebenders could do it. Lightning bending was rare because you could only learn it from someone who knew about it, and they wouldn't teach it to you unless you're royalty. Right? Wasn't lightning bending rare because they had to have a pure/calm heart? I mean... they don't say it's rare because you need a pure or calm heart. They say... I think they do say you need a pure or calm heart. But that's to justify it being difficult for Zuko to learn, not because... Not to justify it being rare. They don't ever explicitly say why lightning bending is rare as far as I'm aware in Avatar The Last Airbender. And I think the interpretation of it's not rare because it's an impossibly difficult ability to learn, it's rare because the royalty keeps it to themselves, makes more sense. There's also the interpretation that our explanation of lightning bending is given to us by a firebender who's lived under Fire Nation rule and propaganda his whole life. How do we know he's right? What do you think is the best bending? IMO, it has to be Magma. I think it's kind of an irrelevant discussion. I think at the end of the day, a master of any bending discipline will beat a non-master of another. And if there's two masters, whoever serves the story the most to win will win. If you really want to get fucking tricky about it, bloodbending and fucking flying plus being able to choke people to death by removing their air is kind of broken. But, like, who cares? You know? If the story wants them to lose, they'll lose anyways. Did Naruto not want to teach it to Zuko because it was dangerous? Naruto tried to teach it to Zuko. Zuko wasn't able to master it because he was too angry. And what he didn't want to teach him initially was redirecting lightning. And it's not even that he didn't want to teach him. Like, he tried to teach him, but he didn't want to help him practice, right? He didn't want to actually shoot lightning at him for him to practice redirecting because that was too dangerous. If he fucked it up, he was dead, right? I don't think they ever really... Like, the worst we saw about like, lightning bending being dangerous to the person who uses it was Zuko trying a lightning bend and making an explosion and getting knocked back, you know? But that was it, right? And he was completely fine after that.
Have you ever kept goldfish as pets? They're very cute.
No, but, like, again, right? Like, the reason why I love it so much, or I like it so much that it's more common in Korra, is because, right, like, the Fire Nation is a lot more... The Fire Nation under Ozai and under Sozin place a lot more importance on status than other nations. And so it makes sense that their special bending thing is special because you can only have access to it if you have status, rather than it being all about power. Right? Like, if you give them the benefit of the doubt and assume that they thought it through, then lightning bending being common in Korra is a way to confirm that it was only ever uncommon in The Last Airbender because it was kept by the elites for themselves, right? If you could meet one character from the series and chat with, who would it be and why? What would you ask them? I mean, I don't really care about meeting a fictional character, you know? Like, the objective best answer to that is Sokka is, like, the character that people care about that's the least explored in the comics. And so I'd want to meet end of life Sokka for him to tell me what happened to him, you know? But that would do the exact, that would effectively have the exact same results as us just getting a fucking comic about Sokka, right? So like it's not like I'd care about it that much. But like if it wasn't just like, ooh, you get to meet them once and then they go back to their fictional universe. If it was like, if they were real people and you could actually meet them and like maybe befriend them, who? And I don't know, honestly. I don't know who I get along the best with. A lot of people will say Iroh, but the reality is that
If we've got nothing else to do, why don't I tell you a story?
Iroh wouldn't remember you. Every single moment, like, Iroh is too kind and generous. He's like that with everyone. Like, you'd have a nice time and then he'd leave and he wouldn't ever seek out your friendship. He wouldn't ever really, like, go out of his way to speak to you again. Right? You're not special to him. He's special to you, but you're not special to him.
Have you ever kept
Right?
precious pets?
You're not his family. Can he beat Goku though? True. I don't know. I feel like it would. I feel like Ty Lee would be a homie, you know? I don't know if that's just me, but I really feel like Ty Lee would be a homie. He seems genuine? Yeah. Well, no, not really. Right, like, she does respond to Azula's threats by pretending that she really likes her, right? Like, her introduction scene, she is incredibly not genuine. Right? Like, she starts off trying to be genuine, and then Azula makes it very fucking clear that she's gonna make her life hell if she stays, and then she's like, you know what? I've changed my mind! My destiny is with you! Azula, my great friend! Right? And like, yeah, she doesn't have a choice but to come, but that is a very dishonest way of framing it, right? Like, unlike May, Ty Lee did not want to go with Azula. Right? May just wanted to go with Azula because they were friends in elementary school. And she was like, yo, that's my friend. Ty Lee just did not want to fucking go. But she was smart enough to know that she was being threatened and that it was good to maintain a suspension of disbelief, both for her and Azula, that they both knew wasn't real. But that could stay like a big-ass elephant in the room, but in camo, right? So that no one would talk about it. Are we talking about the live action Avatar? No, we are not. We would never. You guys hear it got renewed because too many people hate watched it? That's not even true. Most of the people that watched it didn't even hate watch. They just nostalgia watched. Man. And like, why did they remake Avatar The Last Airbender instead of Korra? Korra has so many issues that need fixing. And it lends itself so much better to a darker tone. And most of the cartoony tropes in Korra are actually kind of cringe and not helpful to the story. Oh no! We have to ride the hype of Avatar The Last Airbender. God, man. That's fine. IP milking, man. Live action would be a hell of a lot better if the main cast were better actors. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I didn't watch enough of it to comment much on it. Like on the actors' performances. But it definitely felt omega stiff. Like, it felt like it was the first take for so many of the scenes. Aang himself was kind of okay. I mean, the thing is, Aang's character in the live action is significantly worse and loses a lot of his depth. And that makes it so that the actor was asked to give a really fucking boring performance. And he did well, but the performance just wasn't interesting because the character's not interesting. But it's also about the raid boss event. Doing the mechanics did too much damage to the boss. And the boss was overall a bit too squishy. But like, I wish that when you like knocked it down, it didn't fucking take a third of its health as damage, right? Though even if I could, clear it really fast because I'm really well invested, I could also, do it with my friends who have shit characters. And it would actually take a while. It would be fun. But because the boss fucking takes so much damage just from you doing its mechanics, you can literally not hit the boss once and clear it in like 2 minutes. And there's a 20-minute time limit. Like, what the fuck, man? Like, really? Really, man? It's a missed opportunity. As usual. I have a confession to make. The only Avatar The Last Airbender IP I've ever watched is the 2010 movie. You get where I'm going with this, right? I get it. Lie? It's because the director of the Avatar: The Last Airbender movie is this guy. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he had never watched the original show either. It's a shame though, because the movie's just bad and the show is actually great. Like, the show at its worst, at its very, very worst, is still pretty damn enjoyable, right? Like, the worst episode in the show is the fucking Canyon episode, Great Divide or whatever, by far, right? Every other episode is like miles ahead of the Great Divide. And it's still not that, like, bad to watch. And it still serves a purpose in, like, establishing Sokka and Katara's relationship, right? Yeah, anyways. Alright, chat, let's go do our commissions with you, Emia. You still been playing OSRS? Not really, no. The Zuko arc was sick when he was in that Geo village. True. Yeah, Zuko alone is widely regarded as one of, if not the best episode in the show. The desert episode is a sleeper? I guess, yeah. Like, it's not the greatest, but it's still fun to watch.
Let me read you a verse. Know my soul. Gotcha. Time for a light show.
Well, this was not the commission. Oops.
Stabilize.
Rain cutter.
Things are about to get dicey.
Fire hazard.
Fire hazard. Is it a hot take to say that the beach episode was the worst? Or the Zuko and Azula beach episode? I like that one. It helps, like, pave the way for Zuko leaving. and it also helps set up Azula's arc at the in the last 4 episodes. Added a lot of characterization, yeah, it did. I get not loving it though, because it's a lot of setup and very little payoff. I think the worst one was when Aang was trying to find some frogs. That's a terrible take. Dog shit take. There is no way you can tell me the Blue Spirit introduction episode was the worst one. With a straight face. That's a terrible take. Like, nah. I refuse to believe you believe that.
Power Kawa. No, my sword. Rain out. Busted.
You're making that up. The rumored Fushuan rerun next patch, who would you suggest I pull for between Fushuan and Aventurin? Fushuan. Basically, if your fights are lasting a very long time, Aventurin is going to be better. Because with Fushuan, you don't actually break even. Like, you will lose more HP than you gain over time. It's just that it is incredibly rare for fights to actually last long enough that that matters. Right? If the fights are lasting that long, you're not clearing with full stars anyways, right? On the other hand, Aventurin will be better for Sim Universe because he's an actual shielder. How do you feel that the new polearm doesn't lead to Shanglang? Yeah, I guess we actually got a polearm that is not broken on Shangling for the first time. True.
Osmanthus wine tastes the same as I remember.
To be fair, it's kind of just a shit polearm that's bad on everyone, so like, I don't think it even really matters. Not even Chevreuse? So what's the upside of running that weapon over other weapons on Chevreuse? Right? Like what? It's a... Maybe if you don't have Fav, what's the advantage of it over Black Tassel? You'll deal a little bit more damage. That's it. Energy? Energy is damage. Chevreuse teams... I don't think there's a single Chevreuse team that doesn't generate enough ER that ER sense plus a bit of ER substats is enough. Plus, her burst sucks. So effectively, it's just damage. The like energy on her just gets translated to being able to build less CR, so you deal a bit more damage, right? Energy is damage on her. That's it. Is it a lot of damage? A bit of damage. It's fine. All right, chat. I think it's time.
Sounds good to me.
Say hi to YouTube. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome. Hi. To Ask Zajef Kazuha. Now, Kazuha's been out for a while. He's had a bunch of reruns, and I think I've done an Ask Zajef every single time. So, just like I did for the last Ask Zajef, instead of asking for questions and then listing off all the questions I got and then answering that, I'm just gonna take questions from my chat. So that there's a squirrel in the power line and whatever. So that there's not too much repetition, and it's questions that, you know, we haven't already talked at length about before. But before we get into the questions from chat, we can talk about the main question that is going to come up and get it out of the way, which is, how strong is he, right? How meta is he? What's changed about his place in the meta since his last rerun? So, his last rerun was... When was his last rerun? Genshin, Banner, History... 3.7? So that was before... before Linny release, right? Yeah. Okay. So the characters that have come out since... Oops. The characters that have come out since his last rerun are Lynette, Lenny, Femine, Neuvillette, Grizzly, Charlotte, Farina, Navia, Chevreuse, Gaming, and Xianya. Right? First, let's get this out of the way. He's still a pretty strong support. We're obviously going to be talking about a lot of the situations where he's not the best options, where he is the best option, but by not that much, and where he actually is just straight up the best option by a decent amount. And him being an overall pretty strong unit doesn't mean that he's necessarily going to be the strongest unit for your account, right? So keep that in mind. But he is still, you know, very much a meta unit. I'd say that compared to his last rerun, he's about the same, right? They've released characters that work quite well with him. And they've also released characters that work very poorly with him. And I'd say that it kind of, balanced out. It kind of balances out where there's some good stuff, there's some bad stuff, and it's kind of all just... It's very similar to the landscape pre-Kazuha, where he's quite good in some teams and not that great in others. Specifically... What if I overlay died? My bad. Specifically for each of these units, Lynette doesn't really have much synergy with him. Like, you can play Animal Quick Swap teams, but not the greatest. And she's more so a decent free-to-play alternative for some teams that don't care that much about the grouping, where she can at least give you VV in a situation where you generally want to use Kazuha, but she doesn't serve as a particularly strong alternative, so yeah. I don't think it really affects his place on the meta that much. I think in most of these situations, you'd rather run Sucrose over Lynette, and I think that with time, and it's something I talked about in the last Kazuha Ask Zajef, and that I'll talk about more today, the need to have an animal unit for both sides has gone down a lot because they've released Dendro, and a lot of Dendro teams don't care nearly as much about an animal unit. And so because of that, I don't think that Lynette has really changed that much for Kazuha. Linny likes Kazuha, right? Kazuha's a good unit in Linny teams. Very often, Linny teams that run Kazuha will struggle to fit a defensive option for Linny. But they are generally some of the strongest Linny teams. So if you're willing to play without a defensive option, it'll be pretty good. If you want to play him and you just want Linny's numbers to be wild poggers, right, you don't want to play some Linny Shangling bullshit, I understand. And he will be pretty good for that. If you're going, like, Dolphin, vertical investment, well, if you're going Dolphin Linny with, like, his signature, maybe a few constellations, like, hyper invest into him, then you start wanting to go more towards teams where his damage is a bigger portion of the team, and generally those teams do like using Kazuha. But I'd say that with the release of a character we're going to talk about in a little bit, he's gained options that don't... he's gained team options that don't want to use Kazuha. Femine, I think, changes nothing for Kazuha. Neuvillette obviously offers some teams where you want to use Kazuha. However, the main reason why Kazuha is pretty good for Neuvillette is because of his buffs, and his grouping actually matters very little for Neuvillette, because it's very easy for Neuvillette to position himself in a way where your beam will hit all of the enemies, or at the very least most of the enemies, and that kind of drives down the value of grouping a little bit. And so Kazuha is using these teams because he gives a non-reaction damage bonus that is good for Neuvillette teams. But it does make the impact that he has on those teams a bit smaller than the impact that he has on teams that care more about the grouping. Also, generally, when you're playing teams with Neuvillette and Farina, he's not as much of an increase in terms of damage, because some of the animal alternatives are also healers, which, you know, you're going to have less personal damage from them, and they won't buff you as much directly, but you'll front load your fanfare stack generation by a bit, and so it's not going to be that big of a difference. But yeah. Risley, I think... I'm not a huge fan of Risley teams with Kazuha. He does have some dank meld setups where you can use Kazuha, but I think that they don't actually tend to outperform the non-meld setups because of the jank that comes with rotations, whereas a lot of his teams that don't use Kazuha have a lot more flexible rotations that let you kind of just do whatever you want. And then his other team archetypes, if you're playing him in Hyper Fridge with a Hyperloom core, obviously you don't have room for Kazuha there. And that leaves mainly Freeze and Monocryo, where Kazuha is actually a pretty good option. With Freeze, well, he is a good option. I don't really love Freeze as an archetype for Risley. I tend to prefer the other archetypes. But if you want to be playing Freeze, it's pretty good. Monocryo also isn't my favorite Risley team. But again, if that's a team you want to play, Kazuha's pretty good with that. And yeah, also the Virgin archetypes can't fit him because obviously you need Dendro, Hydro, and Pyro, and then that's Risley. That's 4. No more team slots. Anyways, Charlotte, I think, has not really directly changed very much. Although I guess if you're playing Freeze Risley teams with Farina, because they were released together, having a cryo healer that actually heals team-wide instead of just the active character helps Farina Fanfare stacking a lot. And so Charlotte's release has made Kazuha a little bit easier to slot into your Freeze teams. Because you can go Charlotte as your healer instead of needing to go for an animal healer. But if you have an animal healer and a character like Shenhe, it also means that you already have a way to get your Farina Fanfare, and Kazuha isn't as valuable for you. That being said, Freeze is a team that generally tends to care a lot about the grouping, and while Risley's AoE is relatively small, frozen enemies don't move, and so, well, don't move except when you shatter them, but you should be refreezing them often enough that they won't move too much. And that means that his relatively small AoE should generally be enough to actually hit enemies in AoE. For other Farina teams, Farina to some extent, Farina has a lot of teams where Kazuha's value went down just because Farina requires your team to slot in a healer for her to truly be able to, showcase her power. And a lot of team archetypes just don't have a great healer option. And then you have to use a healer option for one of the roles on your team. And relatively often, that can end up being the animal unit, right? And it can make characters like Jean or even Xianyuan, even in some non-plunge teams, better than Kazuha, especially if you don't have the healer alternatives that could be slotted into other slots of the team. That being said, Farina also has teams where Kazuha is good, right? Especially if you're playing Bennett teams that can actually afford to swap into multiple characters to heal them back up and actually stack Fanfare. I guess the first one that comes to mind is Klee teams, where you still want to run Kazuha with Farina. But overall, I'd say that Farina has been more of like Farina has given more non-Kazuha options to a lot of teams, more so than she's given Kazuha new teams. Navia just doesn't really care about Kazuha. Kazuha doesn't... You can't swirl Geo, so there's no real synergy between her and Kazuha. You can still play Kazuha in Navia teams just because grouping can be good, And Kazuha's personal damage, as long as you're infusing with any element, is still not, like, insignificant. And Navia doesn't really have the greatest teammates that are incredibly synergistic with her available to her right now. Which means that even though there's no great synergy between Kazuha and Navia, if you're playing specifically in a chamber where the grouping will significantly speed up your first wave, for example, it might actually be a competitive option with more synergistic units. But generally, I'm not a huge fan of Kazuha with Navia. It's whatever. Thank you for the raid.
Oh.
Chevalers is the character that I was referring to earlier with Lenny. That, you know, if you're playing Chevalers, you're not playing Kazuha. Chevalers gives you some... Well, she gives you Res Shred, but only if you don't have an Adamo unit on your team, right? Only if all of your units are Pyro or Electro. So if you're playing a Chevalers team, you're not playing Kazuha. Which has given some significantly more competitive non-VV teams to Lenny, Raiden, Yoimiya to some extent, even though I'm not a huge fan of the Chevalers Yoimiya teams. They're still not bad. Yai, even like channeling Fischl teams have gotten more options. There's others I'm not mentioning because I'm not just gonna list all of the Electro and Pyro units, but like these are the main ones that actually benefit the most. And then Gumming, I don't love Kazuha and Gumming teams. I think that the VV Vape teams for Gumming will prefer running Xianyun if you have her, but Kazuha is still not terrible with them. And I think that a lot of Gumming's good teams aren't actually VV Vape. The grouping will still be valuable in specific chambers, but I think overall, I don't love it that much with him. It's an option like many others. And then Xianyun is almost never run in teams with Kazuha. In a lot of teams, she's replacing the slot and potentially also letting you replace a different character in your team from a healer to a non-healer. But yeah, so we've covered the characters that have been released since his last rerun and how they work with him. And overall, right, again, he's a pretty good unit. He's far from necessary to any account, but in a lot of situations, he can help your clears feel more comfortable through grouping, or make your unit stronger if he's really the right unit for the team. And so, we're going to start taking questions from chat. As a reminder, if you're asking a question in chat during one of these, make sure you at me with your question, so I can tell which messages are questions for me and which ones are not. My account is somewhat recent and I don't have a good Animo VV support yet, not even Sucro, should I get him? And I don't play any of the recent character. Okay, so the main thing I want to say first before actually answering the question is I don't like questions that are, should I do this, right? Because at the end of the day, whether you should or not is always going to depend on what you care about, right? So I can't tell you whether or not you should pull for a character. What I can tell you is how good it would be for your account to pull for a character. Now, obviously, I don't know what characters you have. Some carries work with Kazuha better than others. That being said, Kazuha is a pretty versatile unit that works on a lot of different teams. And if you don't have any Animo units, it can definitely be quite helpful to get one. Animo MC is definitely an underrated unit that you should keep in mind if you end up deciding not to go for him. But Animo MC's grouping is not very good, right? It's mainly... And you don't get... the damage bonus. Like, obviously, if you're comparing Animo MC directly to Kazuha, they're just worse. But you do have one animal option if you really need one. But yeah, I'd say generally, Kazuha will be one of the better characters to go for your account. Just remember, he's being run along with Neuvillette, who is also quite a good option for an account. So figure out either if you like one of them a lot more than the other, or if one of them works with the characters you already have better than the other. But yeah. File versus Sack Sword versus Zyphos in terms of damage and build needed. Okay. First thing to answer that question is, Zyphos is a myth, okay? Because low refine Zyphos is not actually all that great. It's only actually a good option at high refine. And you don't want to be pulling on a weapon banner for a 4-star weapons refinement. The weapon banner is not made for you to be able to do that well, right? If you do end up with it going for a different weapon, then that's fine, right? Like, it is a good option, and it is a generalist option that will work on a lot of teams. With that out of the way, right? The general question for Kazuha that most people ask is, what weapon should I use? Well, most people who have heard about Fav and how good it is on him, what they ask is, should I use Fav or Iron Sting, right? Right now you're gonna notice my Kazuha's on Iron Sting, and honestly, it's not even because I want him on Iron Sting, it's just because I only have one Fav, and it keeps swapping between all of my characters. I want Fav on Singto, I want Fav on Farina, I want Fav on Jean, I want Fav on Kaya, I want Fav on who else? I want Fav on I don't know. I want Fav on Kazuha. But I only have one, so I kind of just gotta fucking suck it up and accept that that's not gonna happen sometimes. Dendro MC, yeah. And as a general rule,
Time to go.
Fav good. Kazuha's burst is pretty good. And getting enough ER to meet his ER requirements with only EM main stat pieces is often very difficult. And will often eat into the amount of EM that you can have on the flower and feather pieces that don't have EM main stats, right? Because of that, the optimal way to build Kazuha for many teams is actually just, if you're using Iron Sting, unless you have incredibly good artifact, is generally just ER, EM on Iron Sting, right? Obviously there's teams that don't, or that generate more energy, or that don't even really care that much about him using his burst. But as a general rule, there are definitely a lot of situations where going Iron Sting means you have to go ER Sense. And when you do that, you get relatively similar ER and EM as if you're using Fav. Except, with Fav, you also get an actually really good passive. And with Iron Sting, you get garbage. Most of Kazuha's damage is done through swirls, which do not have their damage increased by elemental damage %. Whereas the Favonius passive is pretty fucking broken. It's really damn good. It helps his ER requirements, and maybe more importantly, the rest of the team's ER requirements in a pretty significant way. Now, obviously, if you're going Fab, you're going to have to get a little bit of crit. But because Kazuha's E hits 3 times, right? 1 time going up, 2 times going down. 3 different hits that can crit. His actual crit rate requirements to proc Favs somewhat reliably aren't even that high. And then on top of that, you're using his burst, which is, if you're doing EQ, 1 additional hit. If you're doing QE, another 3 additional hits. And then on top of that, his hits are AoE and a pretty large AoE, which means that it gets multiplied by the amount of enemies that there are. Right? Because of that, all this to say, he doesn't actually need to build like 50+% crit rate to relatively reliably get the Fav proc. Obviously, it's not going to be 100% unless you actually are at 100%. But my build has 30% crit, and I feel like I have more than enough in most situations, even with an R3 Fav. When you're building Iron Sting, it's just EM and ER that you care about. But the initial question talked about Zyphos and Fav, but it also talked about Sack Sword. And Sack Sword is a very interesting weapon on Kazuha, because I think a lot of people overlook it. Now, before we actually explain Sack Sword and when it's good versus when it's not that good, we need to understand something, okay? Characters like Kazuha, with long animation times, right? Relatively long E animation compared to a character like Kea, for example, that just presses E and then it's done, right? He actually has to go up and then down. By the time I can move, it's already been over a second, right? Plus the burst animation being relatively long, Kazuha is a character that has relatively long field time requirements. What that means is that he needs to offer more overall to the team to justify those field time requirements. And in most situations, he does. That being said, staying on him for longer also means that he has to offer significantly more. If you're already meeting your ER requirements, in terms of damage, doing 1 more E, because it will extend your rotation, is generally not really worth it. However, that's just in terms of DPS. What it does do is it increases your current rotation's damage, which can help you reach HP breakpoints. And it lets you use your E 1 more time, which can group enemies. And that's something that's very noticeable, especially in chambers where enemies spawn really far away from each other. Being able to, let's say there's a group of enemies here, right? Being able to run here, get this hilly trail next to me, and then run here, and get all of the hilly trails next to me over here, right? And it's a hilly trail now, but like any sort of groupable enemies, you group all of them instantly, which can be pretty good. In most situations, you don't actually need to use the second E to reach your ER requirements with Sack Sword, because Sack Sword is an ER weapon, a low base attack ER weapon, so it gives you 60% ER. That plus the substats that you can get, especially because with Sack Sword you don't need crit rate like you do with Fav, so it's a little bit easier to get slightly higher ER without having to sacrifice EM. You're very rarely going to need to use that second E to generate enough energy. But you always have the option to use it to get better grouping. And I'd say that in practice, the amount of damage that you can gain with an EM weapon like Iron Sting
Just the tune to accompany them, if you wish to hear it.
is never really better than either the additional energy you can gain with Fav or the additional versatility and grouping utility that you can gain with Sack. In teams where he doesn't actually need ER and can go triple EM with Iron Sting, I've found that I still generally prefer running Sack just because having that utility, having that additional grouping,
Surely enough.
generally translates to faster clears than the slight damage increase that you get from 165 EM. That's not always going to be the case, but it very often can be.
Time to go.
All in all, Zyphos is a good option if you actually have it at high refinement, but if you don't have it at high refinement, it's generally not actually better than Fav. It will obviously, in the situations where Iron Sting is better than Fav because you don't need the ER, then obviously it's just going to be better than Iron Sting. But as a general rule, low refinement Zyphos is not something I'd recommend very often. High refinement Zyphos, pretty good recommendation. The Fav is generally what I would consider to be his baseline weapon.
Just the tune to accompany them, if you wish to hear it.
Sack is what I would generally run on teams that are less, or that care less about the energy, just for the versatility. And then Iron Sting, or I guess fucking Umbrella, whatever, right? EM substat weapon will technically be the highest damage from your E and your burst, right? Because if you're not adjusting for your ER requirements, or if you have lower ER requirements, and you don't care about the utility from Sack, then it's also pretty good. I guess we should also mention his signature. Honestly, Kazuha's signature is not great. Obviously, it's going to be fine in teams that actually significantly care about the buffs that it gives, right? The attack buff isn't that big. Alright, let's get... Oh, they added the main stat here. That's kind of cool. Right, 20% attack. It's not bad, but it's not like insane. Wow, holy. So generally, it's not even that big of an increase unless you're taking advantage of both of the passives. And even when you are, it's not even that significant of a team DPS increase. The main use for Freedom Sworn, in my opinion, is in teams where you actually just don't care about the energy, and where using his burst is barely even worth it, because it can actually be a DPS loss. Which is effectively Neuvillette teams, and that's it. Right? Because in Neuvillette teams, you're swirling Hydro, which means that you're only getting half the swirl damage. For those of you who didn't know, Hydro Swirl doesn't do AoE damage. It only does single target damage. It does apply Hydro in AoE, but it doesn't do AoE damage. It only does damage to the initial target that had Hydro on them. Which means that when you're triggering Swirl on 2 targets, if it's Hydro, you still only get 1 instance of swirl damage. Whereas with every other element, you get 2 instances, right? So Hydro Swirl does less damage, so his personal damage matters less, which makes his burst also matter less because you're not getting as much damage from using it. And Neuvillette is a character that can actually maintain consistent uptime for a relatively long period of time. Which means that that time that is spent using Kazuha's burst, it costs you half a charge attack on Neuvillette, right? And very often that's just not really that worth it.
There are leaves around, and I know just the tune.
His burst can still be useful to
hear it.
like apply a different element if you need it to get maybe that's third stack, but like it's other than that, yeah, I think that basically does it for his weapon options. Yeah, like even in those Neuvillette teams, it's not even that big of a DPS increase, right? Like getting Kazuha's signature compared to not having it is going to be a similar DPS increase as getting a 1 talent level in Neuvillette's normal attacks. Actually, probably a little bit less even. 1 talent level is more damage, I think. So, like, just in general, right? Support weapons, unless they're actually insanely strong, don't tend to increase your team DPS as much as carry weapons, right? And I'm saying unless they're like incredibly strong. Basically, every support weapon other than key doesn't increase your team DPS more than a carry weapon. And so unless it's a weapon that is very versatile and can be used in a lot of different teams, which is not the case for Kazuha, then it doesn't tend to be as valuable to accounts, and I generally wouldn't recommend going for it.
I carry memories of my home.
Anyways, next question.
This blade. It is the last link I have to the land of my birth.
Is Deus C2 an overall better character than Yelan C0? This is Kazuha asks Zajef. What are you yapping about? That's not. Please, I am begging. Suppose that he runs along with a 4-star like Shangling, which I want C4. How worth are his constellations compared to Nebula? Okay, so yeah, let's take a look at that. If you already have Neuvillette and Kazuha, and the 4-stars that are on banner are 4-stars that you really want, either because they're a new 4-star you don't already have, or they're a good 4-star whose constellations you care about, or they're a bad 4-star whose constellations you care about because you really like them, right? How much value are you gaining from their constellations? Kazuha's C1 is not great. I mean, effectively, it gives you the upside that Sack has in every team, but only when you burst, and sometimes you kind of just want to use E twice in a row rather than E burst E. But it does give you some utility and some grouping utility, which can be nice. And it helps make it so that it's easier to run him without Fav, especially if you are going for a signature. But again, right? Very often, because Kazuha's buffs from VV only last for 10 seconds, whereas other buffs or, I mean, Bennett, right? It lasts for 12 seconds and it lingers, so it's actually like 14, 15 seconds. You look at Singso's Hydro application, you have fucking 18 seconds. When it comes to buffs, his buff's duration is relatively short, so he's generally one of, if not the last unit you swap into before your carry. But what that means is that spending more time on him makes you lose buff uptime on your carry. And so, when you're playing him in teams where you have to swap to him right before your carry, and there are other buffs you care about on the team, very often the C1 isn't even worth using. You don't even really want to use your E that you get from the C1. Because losing 1 second of buff uptime on your carry, unless you need the grouping, is very often not really better than getting 1 second, like getting 1 more E on Kazuha. That's not always the case, but that is a consideration, right? And even when it is better, it's less better than, you know, if you just got that damage for free without having to spend more time on him. All in all, I'd say that C1 is just mostly a quality of life constellation rather than an actual relevant DPS constellation. It's fine. Whatever. C2, I think is... C2 is good, but I think it's a little bit overrated in the sense that it is actually a relatively sizable DPS increase in teams that care about it. But there's not actually that many teams that care about it. And when you look at support constellations, it's, you know, competing with some pretty strong ones like Nahida's C2 and stuff like that. Overall, C2 is relatively strong. And again, right, if the situation is you already have Neuvillette and Kazuha, or you don't want Neuvillette, and you want some of the 4 stars on banner, I wouldn't feel bad about getting C2, right? Like, it is definitely nice to get, but it's not something, unless you're, like, speedrunning and you really need that additional DPS for a specific speedrun team, it's not something that is generally going to be all that relevant. Which teams does C2 improve the most? It's basically the Vape and I guess Melt teams where you can play him. Now, when it comes to comparison to Neuvillette, I'd say that Neuvillette's constellations are more relevant than Kazuha's are, but Neuvillette is, you know, he's a non-fielder, and you generally can't have more than one of those. And so if you don't love playing Neuvillette, you might not play him that often, right? Kazuha fits a lot more different teams than Neuvillette does, and so if you don't love playing Neuvillette, getting constellations on him and making him stronger may not actually be as much of an improvement as getting a slightly, well, as getting a weaker improvement on a character you play more often. That being said, overall, yeah, like, obviously, past that, it's kind of a joke. C6, you can do some funny stuff, especially now with Xianyan, but, yeah. And I don't want to get too deep into talks about Neuvillette, because he's going to get his own Ask Zajeff. But, yeah, like, you'll generally gain more value from Neuvillette's constellations than you would from Kazuha's. But Neuvillette is a unit that is an on-fielder, so he may be played in less different teams if you play a lot of different teams. You can weigh those against each other, decide which one you care about the most. Next question! How viable is main DPS Kazuha C0, especially now with Farazan and Xianyan? Okay. Main DPS is a very shit term. It's a very meaningless term. I hate it because a lot of people mean different things when they say main DPS, right? I know that a lot of people adamantly say that Xiangling is not a main DPS, even in teams where she does the most damage, because she doesn't stay on field. And, like, I get that, right? The term is vague and it's shit, and Genshin's combat system doesn't really lend itself all that well to traditional terms for combat in other games. So let's look at the ways that you can play Kazuha that aren't just, hey, I'm using him for his VV buff, right? And that's generally going to be, I mean, you can play him with Xianyun as a plunge carry. That's funny, I guess. It's not terrible because, honestly, no character is. And it actually has innate synergy with Xianyun because you get to generate more energy for her because Kazuha's Animo. And you actually have grouping, which is one of the things that Xianyun teams lack, and which can definitely be felt against groupable enemies that don't start too close together. Right? That's the way you can play him, and it's actually pretty good. Like, you can... It's strong enough to clear. The other way, and the way that I assume you meant, the main way that people would play him is, you know, if you're playing him in, like, a quick swap team where you basically use his E every 6 seconds, but you don't necessarily just stay on him and auto in the meantime, right? And in those teams, he's not bad, honestly. Like, he's a pretty decent quick swap carry, right? If you want to play something like Kazuha, Bennett, Farazan. Where is he? Kazuha, Bennett, Farazan, Farina, something like that, right? Where, you know, you go to him, you use your E, you go to Farazan, you use her E, you charge shot a couple times, you go back to Kazuha, you use your E, you go back to Farazan, you charge shot a couple times, you go back, etc. And it's actually a pretty reasonable team. It does relatively well. It's pretty alright. Obviously, it's a fucking Farazan team, which means that it is going to be completely dogshit if Farazan isn't C6. I'm exaggerating a little bit, obviously, but it's going to be a lot worse if Farazan isn't C6, right? Because Farazan's personal damage is going to be a lot lower, and the buff is going to be a lot smaller. But yeah, these are teams that are actually strong. They're not like, wow, insane best Kazuha teams, but they're definitely strong enough to clear stuff. We can actually give an example. God, I don't want to build him. I'm gonna have to change the build, like, ugh, it's fine. I think I'll keep him on VV because my VV pieces are really good. Well, pretty good. Feather is my weakest piece, I think. Yeah, let's... Yeah. Can I get away with crit damage circlet? Or do I not have enough crit rate? Nah, I don't have enough crit rate. Sure. Or I'm just gonna use this. Gearing. Now we do have the current blessing that gives you shockwave on plunge damage, so you do keep that in mind for this. Gonna look a little bit better than it usually should.
We'll see about that.
Wind strider.
Too late for regret. My name's Echo Inside. Teamwork is strength. Dare to mess with me? Have fun with.
Clouds high. The bird.
Too late for regret.
Right, and you can see, right? It's still... It's far from being a bad team, right? It's still pretty good. You've got grouping. You've got enough damage to clear. It's alright. It's not his best team, obviously, but... like, he's definitely playable as a carry, right? Was that Rancor? No. Blackcliff is a prototype Rancor recolor. But it is not a prototype Rancor. But yeah, hopefully that answered the question for main DPS Kazuha. Next question. You talk about the Kazuha versus Sucrose upsides for the different teams. I feel like I've done that so many times already, including a lot of the older teams. As a general rule, because I honestly can't be bothered going through all the teams again. If the team cares about EM, Sucrose is competitive. If you need Globus Swirl, Sucrose is better. If you need an on-fielder, Sucrose is generally slightly better. If you don't care about an EM buff, Kazuha is better. If you really need the grouping for a specific type of enemy, Kazuha is better. I think that's it. But that's really what it boils down to. Alright, next question. And as a reminder, this is Ask Zajef Kazuha. So, not the right time to ask me questions about Dory, sorry. This has been asked a ton of times. How beneficial is it to get Kazuha if you already have Venti or Sucrose? I'd say that it's a bit less beneficial than it used to be, to some extent, because there's just... The teams that care about Kazuha, like, over Sucrose, have often been given... Or have... They've been given a decent amount of alternatives over the last couple years since he came out, which makes him less necessary to make the teams shine. But there's definitely going to be a decent amount of teams where he's an upgrade over Sucrose. And then with the Venti thing, it's... Venti's one of those characters that is very game warping, because he inherently will force Hoyo to design the content with him in mind, right? In 1.0, Venti was the best unit in the game. Much better than Sing So, who I consider to be the best unit in the game now. Because all the content you could do was vulnerable to Venti. Even the most difficult of Abyss Chambers. And I think Hoyo realized that Venti was so strong that it made it so that if you didn't have Venti, versus if you did have Venti, Venti by himself would basically make you able to play fucking Barbara, Diona, Chi-Chi, and still clear while other teams could potentially struggle without him in content that's designed around Venti, right? Or like that's very beneficial for Venti. And because of that, and because they don't want that, they don't want you to be able to clear with just one unit, they've kind of changed their design philosophy for Abyss and made it so that most of the time Venti has one side where he doesn't work and one side where he works but only in 2 of the 3 chambers, or only in 1 of the chambers, right? So like right now Venti's pretty damn good on the first side for chamber 3, not really for chamber 2, and fine for chamber 1, right? And that's pretty consistently been the case. There's been a few exceptions where Venti's actually good on one side for all 3 of the chambers, but that just generally hasn't been the case, right? Because they had to change the way they designed the Abyss because of Venti, right? And that keeps him in check. He's still pretty useful for earlier Abyss, where you don't care as much about the damage, and very often you have some really fucking cringe, 83 different Pyrospecters, or oh, what's that? We have fucking, I don't know, what's the bullshit right now? Oh yeah, defense monolith, the 25 pyro slimes that spawn all over the place, right? And well, it's not difficult because it's the earlier ones. It's cringe. It's very cringe. It's very cringe without him, for sure. And that like strength carries over to a lot of the overworld stuff, where Venti's pretty valuable to make clearing certain domains less cringe. But he hasn't been a great character in Abyss 12 for a pretty long time. And I think that inherently Kazuha tends to do things that are not the same thing as Venti is doing. And the comparison 1-to-1, in my opinion, doesn't really make that much sense anymore. I don't think owning or not owning Venti has much of an impact on whether or not I would want to go for Kazuha on a given account.
There are leaves around, and I know just the tune to accompany them, if you wish to hear it.
You just build Kazuha attack crit if you're using him in Ayaka Shanha Kokomi Freeze team? Why? There are teams where you can build him attack crit. I mean, hey, he's currently on a crit build, right? He's currently on attack Animo crit. That's generally just teams with Farazan. And basically every other team, EM is almost always better. Next question. Subscribe, like, and comment your favorite Kazuha team. That is a great question. True. I agree. Amazing question. Definitely not a paid chatter. I've already done that, Prostal. Alright, next question.
This scenery is wonderful. Surely enough.
Best Kazuha question.
Become a wanderer.
Best 4-star weapon for DPS Kazuha? Honestly, it depends on a lot of factors. The Fontaine Craftable is a pretty strong one, assuming you can actually proc it. And again, right, this is assuming you're actually going for an attack build with Farazan. Unironically, EM weapons are still not bad, because he still does a decent amount of his damage through swirls. But they tend to be a bit worse with Farina, specifically, because, again, you're swirling Hydro, right? Other than that... Aware. If you're actually swapping into him every 6 seconds to use E, your ER requirements shouldn't be high enough that you would want Amenoma. Especially in teams where you're playing 2 Animo units. Wolf Fang will be fine. Yeah, other than that, you just use whatever stat stick. Obviously, the 5-star stat sticks are generally going to be better. But yeah.
There are leaves around, and I know just the tune to accompany them, if you wish to hear it.
How big of an upgrade does will Kazuha be over other Animo units and Dendro teams? I mean, mostly Aggravate. Kazuha's grouping tends to be a little bit easier to use than Sucrose's grouping. And he generally tends to have slightly higher personal damage than Sucrose and Aggravate teams. And in exchange for that, his buff is a bit worse. Well, his buff is very similar. Worse if things go right with Sucrose. Relatively, like, equal. If you don't get, like, your C6 burst infusion or something like that. Overall, I generally consider him to be a relatively minor upgrade to Aggravate teams. It's definitely one of the teams where, like, he technically generally is an upgrade, but really not that big of an upgrade, in my opinion. Thoughts on Kazuha and Geo teams? Oh. Kazuha versus Bronya. No.
Time to go.
Alright, next question! How much weed do you think Kazuha smokes on the daily? I don't think Kazuha smokes weed. He's an artist. He does LSD.
Time to go.
Like what? He's on acid every day. Not on weed.
Time to go.
You ran out of questions? No, people are just asking dumb questions. I guess we can show the Xianyun stuff. They're gonna ruin our builds even more. No, it's fine. Maison, un flou qui t'adore. C'est une vraie bonne raison pour pas passer l'autre bord. J'aurais pu personne. J'aurais pu mon vieux chum. Et que je plume à chaque année. Avec le pool. Ok. What if I died again? God damn it! It's fine. Well, that's fine. Whatever. Let's get Farina on 5. Xianyun's build should be fine. Yeah, we're providing editors with some background footage for when I talked about this team. True. Smart.
Let the world collide! Make way! Going in! Wind strike!
Oh, we fucked up our auras, but it's fine.
Strike a pose!
I shouldn't have done that. That was a mistake.
Seize the skies! Everybody stand up!
I need to... whatever. Aura's a lot more finicky in AoE, but... we basically got, like, no baits there. Fuck. Wouldn't literally any other character perform the same with Farina plus Xianyun? No. Literally every other character doesn't have grouping, doesn't have the highest plunge multiplier, and doesn't have animal particle generation for Xianyun. Would literally every character perform relatively similarly? Sure.
I trust you.
But Kazuha is definitely one of the better options for a team like this.
Let the world collide! Strike cloud converge! Going in!
Funny number. Does Kazuha want the win set? Yes, he does. Is there a way to play Kazuha on field with Xianyun in an aggravate or overload team? I've tried with TF and C1 on Kazuha, but it didn't work at all. Is there a way to play Kazuha on field with Xianyun in an aggravate or overload? I mean, what's the point of Xianyun if you're playing an aggravate or overload team? You're gonna do physical plunges? Xianyun's buff is not very big if you're only doing 3 plunges per rotation with his E. So what, you're gonna do physical plunges? Like, what's the point? You know? There's no point. You can do it with physical plunges, but it's not great. I'll be right back.
Wherever in this world I roam, I carry memories of my home. This blade, it is the last link I have to the land of my birth.
I am back. Hello. Alright. I think we're getting towards the end of the questions. I'll take one last question, mods. I'll take one last question. If we get an electro infuser one day, Kazuha plus Shanyon will be bussin'. Not really. What makes vape teams with Shanyon really good is that you have plunge multipliers, which are really high, and you add to that Shanyon's A4 multiplier, which is also pretty high, and you end up with hits that are basically fucking like 600 motion value, right? And vaping that is another 300, right? And then plus the fact that you're adding EM into your useful stats. So you're basically doubling the damage. Whereas the damage you gain from Aggravate is the same as the damage you would gain from Aggravate using a normal attack. Or any other type of attack that would trigger Aggravate, right? There's just a lot more synergy with plunging vapes and melts than there is with plunging aggravates or spreads. Which team comp is the most fun way to play Kazuha, according to you, considering you have the needed characters? That's a good question to end on. It used to be TF Kazuha, but I hate gearing so much. Having to change his build every time I play him sucks. And so I haven't played nearly as much TF Kazuha recently. I don't know, honestly. I actually haven't been playing Kazuha all that much recently. I've been playing a lot of teams that don't really use him. I think right now I'm in my Kazuha hater arc. I just haven't really been using him very much. Right now? Yes, right now. Oh, you were doing the right now, right? Hero merge, okay. But yeah, I just really haven't been playing a lot of the teams where Kazuha's really good recently. If I really had to choose, honestly, probably the Quick Swap Kazuha teams. They're kind of fun. I like them. But yeah. So, like, with that, this is gonna be the end of Ask Zajef Kazuha edition. I hope you guys learned a thing or two. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments that this isn't related to Kazuha, but I want to know. I want to know how much interest there is in a Wuthering Waves video. I want to gauge how much something like that would be something that you guys on YouTube would want to see. So let me know in the comments if that's something you'd be interested in watching. And as usual, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, YouTube. Okay. Let me tell the editors. Recorded. AZ Kazuha. Low priority. Probably want to post when his rerun banner is officially announced. Which is going to take a while. Okay. Can you explain Shenyan's A4 multiplier if it's alright with you? Yeah, sure. So usually, right, you look at something like this, right? You look at this multiplier, this is 349. So I take 349% of his attack, right? And then I multiply that by my crit, and then I multiply that by my damage percent, and then I multiply that by my EM multiplier if applicable, and that's my effective attack. And then I multiply, or sorry, and then that's my damage, right? And well, you also have to include enemy defense multiplier, enemy resistance multiplier, but that's basically the damage, right? When you add external additive damage buffs like Shannon's A4, what it does is his attack multiplied by his multiplier. You take that and you add Shannon's attack multiplied by her multiplier. Before you start multiplying that by your crit, by your damage, by your everything else, right? You add those two things together, and then they get multiplied. That's why when you go for a team like this, right, you want to go EM Sands rather than Attack Sands. Because EM Sands, right, it goes to your EM multiplier, which multiplies both the portion of your damage that scales from Kazuha's attack and the portion of your damage that scales from Shanyun's attack. Whereas if you go Attack Sands, you're only multiplying the part of his damage that scales from his own attack. So Kazuha could have 0 base attack and still clear? Yeah, he could. It'd be slower, obviously. But you could 36 star with a 0 base attack character, yes. Alright. I think... What now? I think we just go to Star Rail now. Okay. Honk. Mods, if you would kindly change the game. Thank you very much. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. Sorry. Who did that, man? What? Who was that? Holy. I'm not adding that emote, I'm sorry. Okay. Who did this skull emoji? True. True. It was a Zajef78. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Thank you for understanding. Okay, chat. Back to Winset we go. We now have our bald beast that we needed. For bald to be playable. Yeah. Also, kind of gonna suck, but I'm gonna go for a Locha. Because... Is this the right one? Yeah.
Shame.
I'm not gonna have Rudolins because I don't have enough crit rate. But it is what it is. It is what it is.
Feeling spiffy?
Oh, right, I forgot about that. I forgot. For the first one, I don't actually want to use Sparkle E. I forgot. Actually, I probably can, because I have multiplication. Whatever, it's fine.
Shame.
I'll go easy this. This battle is unavoidable. Lend me your strength.
Your end approaches.
We've entered the storm. To guard and defend. Crush them.
That parrot, savor it for me. Bloom. Let's settle this.
Troublesome. Let's play for a while. You'll pay for this. Lend me your strength.
Fail to send you. I'll see you off.
I'll go easy this. Feeling spiffy?
I'll see you off.
Let's play for a while.
I will dispatch you. The fight is set.
That's when you find the answer.
That paradise may savor it for me. Receive divinity. Repay. Eternals, the dead return!
This battle is unavoidable. Lend me your strength.
Chad, I think I have too many skill points with Locha. I didn't have enough with Fuchuan, but I have too many with Locha. God damn it.
Feeling spiffy?
Wait, what happened? Oh, she used burst. I see.
We've entered the storm. To guard and defend. Crush them.
Blameless, no mercy.
Oh no, wait, is she slowed down? What is she? What's going on? Something's going on here that doesn't make sense.
You have 10 seconds.
Shut the fuck up.
10, 9, 1.
I'm confused. Did I get delayed some? I don't know. I'm confused.
I will dispatch you. Your end approaches.
Oh no, it's just okay. Never mind.
You'll pay for this. Lend
It
me
is
your
what it is.
strength.
Oh.
Unnecessary. Failed to stand you. Let's settle this.
I'll go easy first. Feeling spiffy?
Speed. No, this doesn't matter. So, okay, I guess I want Brawny on Winset as well. Otherwise, I kind of, yeah.
Play for a while.
The Winset on Sparkle doesn't do anything.
This battle is unavoidable. Lend me your strength.
The fight is set.
Let's play. Can you find the answer? We've entered the storm. To guard and defend. Crush them.
Receive divinity. Unnecessary. That paradise may be unreachable. Savor it for me.
You'll never have enough Winset? You are right. That is objectively true. There is no such thing as enough Winset. Doesn't exist. There can never be enough Winset.
A blade knows no mercy.
Aw.
Failed to send you.
I'll go easy first. Feeling spiffy? Lend me your strength.
Your end approaches. Bloom. Unnecessary. Repay. That paradise. Savor it.
Is Winset for you like Vermilion for Zav? See, I get this question often, but obviously not, because Winset is actually good. You know? How much speed does a Brony and Sprinkle have? Their Sparkle is at... Jesus Christ.
Eternal
Sparkle is at 161, Brony's at 160.
Failed to send you. Let's settle this.
Let's play for a while.
I will dispatch you.
You'll pay for this. Lend me your strength.
A blade knows no mercy.
I don't really want to ult here.
Feeling
I want to keep it.
I will dispatch you.
Can I keep it though? Oh, I don't know if I
Lend
can.
me your strength.
A blade knows no mercy.
Shit. I can't, can I? No, I can. This is gonna kill. This is gonna kill. I believe. I'm a believer.
Receive divinity.
Okay, it actually is gonna kill.
Send you.
Nice. No, I didn't crit. Okay, wind shear, wind shear, wind shear. Okay. I don't care about either of these. It's not wind.
I'll go easy this time. Let's play.
You look at the minus 15k. I said I wouldn't add it.
I will dispatch you. Your end approaches.
Does this team reliably do both Sparkle and Running before DPS gets their turn? No, that's not what you want to do.
This battle is unavoidable.
You want to do Sparkle E, DPS gets turn, Bronya E, DPS gets turn. That's the goal.
Unnecessary. Let's settle this.
Let's play for a while. Feeling spiffy?
I will dispatch you. Failed to send you.
You'll pay for this. Lend me your strength.
I'll see you off.
is it we're waiting for?
What is it we are waiting for? True.
A blade knows no mercy.
You tell him, Locha.
Receive divinity.
Unnecessary.
Repay.
Let's pretend you find
We're waiting
the
for ha ha
answer.
ha. True.
Feeling spiffy?
All right, she has DD after war.
We've entered the storm. To guard and defend. Crush them.
What if it's 135 Sparkle, 134 E2 Bronya, base speed Blade? Does Blade gain more turns? I don't think so, right?
Waiting drains one's vigor.
Because, like, if he's faster than Sparkle, then he goes and then Sparkle advances him forward and then Bronya advances him forward again. He doesn't actually get a turn between Sparkle and Bronya. So I don't think he gets more turns. He does get more turns. Sparkle needs more speed. Sparkle needs a lot more speed. But like... And Blade needs a lot more speed as well, right? Like, let me... Right? Like, you'd want Blade to have a turn, then he gets advanced forward by Sparkle, then he gets another turn before Bronya even goes, right? So, like, yeah, he'd need to have 50% more speed than Bronya, right? I play 141 Sparkle, 138 Bronya, and 99 Blade, and I get double turn every cycle. You didn't understand the question. Because you get double turn every... Well, it's not every cycle. It's every time there's, like, actions. You get that with or without Bronya E2, and you can get that faster if Sparkle and Bronya are both faster, right? Like, I have 161 speed Sparkle, 160 speed Bronya, and I'll also have 2 turns. The question was, can you use Bronya's E2 to get an additional turn over those 2 turns? Right? And I think so, yeah. If Blade is at Blade, Sparkle, Bronya, right? If Blade is at 150 speed, Sparkle at 150, 149, I guess, yeah. 151, 150, Bronya at 100. No, that doesn't work. Does that work? No. No, because Sparkle is gonna get desyncs. How the fuck do you make this work? I guess like this. Wait, but no, that doesn't work either. Yeah, I don't think you can make that shit work. Yeah, okay, whatever.
That paradise, savor it for me. I failed to send you.
Lend me your strength.
A blade knows no mercy. Too little.
How about 162 Blade, 161 Bronya, 160 Sparkle? So, if you do that, right?
it we're waiting?
At 61 AV, blade action, right? Then, at 62 AV, Bronya reset and blade action, right? Then, Oracle goes. At 62.5. Let me just... Right? Cool. And that makes it so that Bald right? Bald now is advanced forward by 50%. So his next action is 5,000 divided by his speed plus his last action. 92. Bald. But then it's just Bronya again, right? And then it just becomes Bald turns again. Oops. And as you may be able to notice, if you just remove the Sporkle, Bald's next action would be at the same moment, right? So effectively, you gained nothing from Sparkle other than her damage buff, but no advance forward has mattered, right? You can do some weird shit where you basically alternate normal and E on Bronya, but meh. I don't think it's better than just running Bald 0 speed and Sparkle and Bronya really high speed.
Feeling spiffy?
That paradise, savor it for me.
Receive divinity.
There's always a weakness. Lend me your strength.
The fight is set.
Or my
I'll
crits.
see you off.
I'll go easy.
A blade knows no mercy.
Lend me your strength.
You chose the wrong enemy.
Let's play for a few.
Is it gonna be enough? It should be, right? Because I get the follow-up.
Lend me your strength.
Hopefully. Wait, no!
That paradise.
I don't want to talk about.
savor
I don't
it
want to
for
talk.
me.
I didn't realize it expired. It's fine. I don't. It's fine. Speed.
I'll go easy this time.
Bloom.
Unnecessary.
Lend me your strength.
Your end approaches.
Bro. Bro!
Did that hurt? Let's. Can you find
Calm down! Jesus!
We've entered the storm. To guard and defend. Crush them. Lend me your strength.
I will dispatch you.
Am I on? Can you check what the current cooldown is? Eh, whatever, I'll just do this.
Receive divinity.
I don't necessarily need the skill point.
Personal
It's
power,
fine.
team
I'll see you off.
power. Feeling spiffy?
Fail to send you.
Lend me your strength.
The fight is set.
You chose the wrong enemy. Eternal
Yeah,
stead.
sure, let's do this.
Let's play for a while.
Yeah, I guess I'll do it on the next
Savor
one.
it for me.
Bloom.
You'll pay for this. Lend me your strength.
Fail to send you.
Let's play. Can you find the answer?
Let's settle this.
Feeling spiffy?
That paradise, savor it for me.
This team seems very comfy to play. Yeah, it is. I quite like it. Stop! Leave my Sporkle alone!
Unavoidable. Lend me your strength.
Leave her alone!
Your end approaches. Fail to send you.
I'll see you.
Frick you!
Unnecessary.
Repay.
I'll go easy.
Crit damage with speed, I am actually on my knees begging. Fuck is this, man?
Let's play for a while.
You know what? Fuck it, I'll just do this.
Spiffy? Can you find the answer?
Surely Bold is now gonna go before Bronya, right? Lugi. Oh, okay.
Lend me your strength.
A blade knows no murder. The fight is set.
Bloom.
Unnecessary. That paradise, savor it for me. Fail to send you.
Lend me your strength.
You chose the wrong enemy. Eternal sleep. The dead return.
Feeling spiffy?
I will dispatch you. That paradise, savor it for me.
Oh, I should have done this first. Order
Enter
lol.
the storm.
It's okay.
To guard and defend. Crush them.
A blade knows no mercy. Your end.
Why is he not
approaches.
Bronya ulting? Because I'm not very
Unnecessary.
intelligent.
Fail to send you.
You got a problem with that?
I'll see you off. The dead return.
Yeah.
I will dispatch you.
I for
You'll
war.
pay for this. Lend me your strength.
Skull emoji, he for war.
Feeling spiffy?
A blade knows no mercy.
There's always a weakness. Lend me your strength.
The fight is set. Fail to send you.
I don't want to use my ult. I'll just let him hit. Oh, wind shear. Pawn. I am begging crit damage with speed. Nope. Never. Never lucky. One day I'll get a crit damage body with speed. With speed. Or I also want speed boots with crit damage, right? Like, that's also good. These are the main two things I'm looking for right now. Crit damage body with speed and speed boots with crit damage. Speed check. 161, 160. I'll look at crit damage. Earlier got a good piece yesterday. Can you show it again? Which one was it? Was it this one? Yeah, I think it was this one. Wow. Augers. Augers! Haha. Is 145 speed pillow and wind set good enough for Acheron? What do you mean by good enough? But yeah, it'll be fine, for sure. More speed is more good, though. I don't care about this. Alright, I think that's gonna be it for the day. 20 minutes of Star Rail. Yeah, that checks out.
Were you shocked just now?
We can raid... We can raid Redness. Go say hi, Smile. Hi, Smile. Bye-bye.